This is your brain when you're
Hello, everybody. Welcome in. So good to see you, Mothman. Congratulations on first Nekdos. I got your hat. Thank you so much. New project, yes. I'm excited to start working on this. It's an idea I've been having for a long time. And I don't know. I just feel like it's time to stop procrastinating and actually, like, do some work on it. So good to see you both and everyone else hanging out in the shadows. Appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out. We're just gonna have some chill, nice chill design time tonight. What's the idea? I'm gonna talk about that idea right now. First off, I hope everyone is doing well, and I hope you guys are having a great time in your various projects and responsibilities. Thanks for spending some of your time here. But the basic idea is it's basically this. Plinko plus is it bees? It should be. We should have bees. Very funny. So, yeah. Basic idea, Plinko plus roguelike. But we're gonna put my own spin on it. There are a couple of Plinko type roguelikes that have come out. And I've found them to be a bit lacking in certain regards. Tom Millman, holy cow, so good to see you, man. How has life been? I believe a while ago you went and got a new job. Is that right, Tom? So good to see you, man. Thanks for jumping in and saying hi. A Hive Plinko board, you drop bees down would be cool. I could see that. I literally saw a Plinko roguelike today on Steam. Yeah, Prodigal Son, good to see you. Welcome in, friend. Yeah, first is broken. It keeps on being redeemed by people that are not you. I've submitted the bug. I don't know why. Like, it just isn't going through. You did? Oh, I'm so glad it's going well. That's awesome. So glad to hear it. That's so cool. Yeah, there's Plinbo, right? Roguelike Plinko. Let me go ahead and pull that up here. Right. So we've got this mixed, but 294. 290 flippin' 4 reviews for it. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So my vision is something like this. 294 at mix tells me a lot. First off, it tells me there's a market for this. There are people that want Plinko roguelikes, right? But also that this didn't quite execute on things the way that some people would like to have thought. If I played the latest Add a Hat like, it's a roguelike where you have to randomly add a hat. Oh man. Oh dear. Oh dear. Everything is falling. Everything is falling. Oh, okay. There we go. So, when I see numbers like this, it tells me there's a market and there's an opportunity, right? This is market, this is opportunity. And when market and opportunity cross with my interests, because I love the idea of a Plinko roguelike, and then that also intersects with something that I can actually execute on, that's a big time. That's a big time opportunity right there. So I want to try my hand at making something like this. Now, the basic idea that I have is, well, reasons why I like this from a, like, game dev perspective, right? I like it's, like, no player interaction, right? You're going to press a button, balls are going to drop. All you are doing is picking upgrades. And that's like the whole thing. It's heavily physics oriented, which allows for unpredictability without having to code like super intense AI. Oh man, you say things like that today, and the enemy behaviors, right? Crispy, so good to see you, friend. Welcome in over on the YouTube side. So good to see you. How have you been? I see you've been like really pushing it on a whole bunch of projects recently. How have things been going for you, man? Like Ballionaire, yes, like Ballionaire, exactly. I have mixed feelings about this. Tell me more, Jeff. Good to see you. Mrs. and I are getting reading for game day. Bubba number 3 is due Friday. Holy cow! Oh my gosh. Okay. Peace out. Best of luck. We're rooting for you guys. We're praying for you. Best of luck. Very exciting. Congratulations. Baby number 3. Absolutely phenomenal. It's Jessica. Thank you for the raid. Good to see you. Having a blast. That's great. That's awesome. I saw that you kind of got an official I've wondered about this. Is it like an official relationship with the new Blocky open world survival craft game that came out that everyone really likes? Hi something. Gosh, I'm an old man. Excited to see you live. Yeah, totally. I've been tuning into your streams every now and again. Hope we can find a game to play together again sometime. I'd love that. I'd really love that. That would be super rad. I still love when we played the Bronze Age Sword and Sandals roguelike, which I can't even remember. I'm telling you, my memory is pants. But I look back on that time a lot. That was a fun one. Hightail. Thank you, Jeff and Jessica. Thank you. Yeah, so we're talking about this game design project that I've been wanting to pick up for a little while, which is a Plinko roguelike, right? So you see this, and like this is something in that vein. We're talking about how there's 294 reviews, and it's at mixed. So that tells me 294 reviews, there's a market for this, and it's mixed, which means they're not satisfied with things yet. So I like this. It intersects with my interests. It intersects with what I think I can actually execute on, which is great. So when those things all intersect, that's like, yeah, I should probably like try and do the thing. Fun game? Yeah, totally. I have a creator code with Hightail, but not in direct contact just yet. Yet. You're building up, man. I remember a few years ago when we first met, and you had, I don't know, like a 3 or so viewers, and now you're pumping those numbers, man. You're Jessica. I remember you being there. You're an old timer like myself, but yeah, very cool. Crispy's been on a roguelike kick. Really? For some reason, I thought you weren't a roguelike fan. I must be confusing you maybe with Courtesy of Endo or something. But yeah. So yeah, I like that there's no player interaction. Like, you don't have to aim. You don't have to deal with grids of interaction or anything. You don't have to deal with super advanced enemy behavior or anything. We can just cut all that out because it's just going to be about, beating a score, right? It's going to be physics oriented, so you get a lot of unpredictability. If I bring across our Octalysis framework, so we can kind of talk about that. Peglin is an interesting Plinko type game too. Yes, Peglin is really good in a lot of ways, and they did get a lot of positive reviews from people. And I play Peglin quite a bit, like on my phone, but I'm very unsatisfied with a lot of things about Peglin. It doesn't feel quite great to me. Which is hard for me to describe. It feels kind of, I don't know, clunky. I don't really like the upgrade paths in a lot of it. Like, it feels like your builds are kind of restricted in a certain way. And I really hate the Ascension style that they did, where it's just progressive difficulty with no, like, kickback to the player, no new content, no new benefits or anything. Whoa, chat just freaked out there. All right. You're doing a weekly roguelike roulette series. Oh, gosh. That is ringing a bell. I think I did either tune in for one or we just saw it on YouTube. But yeah, very cool. Yeah, Peglin, I really disliked its Ascension mechanic. I really disliked the way you unlocked, like, the new characters. I was super excited for the new characters. And then it's super difficult to unlock them. But then also, once you unlock them, like, you're kind of just locked into a certain playstyle. They don't open things up and say, oh, here's all this new way to play. It's like, no, you're just kind of better at the thing you had to do to unlock them anyways. So not my favorites. I think we can improve on that. And especially if we're saying you're not aiming, I think we can amp up a lot of other directions that I'd be excited about. Have I seen Mugenics? I just barely picked that up today and played it a little bit. Yeah. I'm not, I don't have an opinion on it quite yet. I played a couple of runs. I enjoyed the runs that I did, but I'm curious to see how things kind of develop over time with it. But I am looking forward to it. Have you been diving in on that, Nektos? So, physics-oriented allows for much more unpredictability, right? It's going to feel a lot more unpredictable. Endo, so good to see you. Welcome in, friend. Thank you so much for that resubscription. I'm very excited to check out Echoes next week. For those who don't know, Courtesy of Endo has been building a fantastic extraction shooter, brawler, adventure game. It's a wild thing. It's super cool. We played it a while ago, and I loved my time with it. And he messaged me today saying that there have been a lot of developments since then. We're going to be checking that out next time we stream. I'm really looking forward to it. Played for a few hours and like it a lot. It is a bit grindy, though. I can see that. You know, when you have to, like, donate the cats to the different relationship people, it went from, like, 1 to 25. Like, wow, that's a big jump. Okay. Temper expectations is just one more weapon type and enemy type. No. You said also a mission. And you also said the new weapon is basically Captain America's shield, which is, like, one of my top weapon types to play around with. So, like, that's a lot. That's a lot. Don't downplay what's happened. These things are all true. They are all true. Thank you. So, yeah. I love that it's physics-oriented. I love that that's going to build out unpredictability for us. I love that no enemy behaviors, really, to code in. It's going to be really simple on the logic front. Hey, Afro Warrior, good to see you on YouTube, friend. How are you, man? Good to see ya. So, the hope is that we'll be able to come away tonight with some sort of a game design document that will address these. I've got some early ideas on this. Incredible. So good to see you, man. Welcome in. Got some early ideas here. It has been a while. How you been? How have your projects been? How's life going for you? You've come in and chatted a little bit, but the last project I remember you were working on was your like superhero 3D game with your team. Is this for a game you want to make or a member of the community? A game I want to make. I want to make it. Like we were saying before, we've got, you know, Plinko style roguelikes, like Plinbo, just barely came out a little bit ago. 294 reviews. They're all mixed. So this says there's a market that is unsatisfied, and it's something that I'm interested in, and it's at a technical complexity level that like my level of programming, especially like with AI assistance to code, I think we can make happen, right? Someone else also brought up Peglorin, which is also great. 10,000 reviews. So there's a lot to really enjoy about Peglorin. Dare I say, I think we can do a little bit better in some ways. Now, as a package, I don't think I'm going to make a game that gets 10,000 reviews. Let's be clear. It's my first, if it gets built enough and published, it will have been my first project. So expectations are low. But I can at least make something that I like more. And I'm excited about that. As much as I do really like Peglorin, there's a lot of cool things about it. Okay. So, you know, early ideas. We got our Plinko board here. Oh boy. No, how do I get rid of your stroke? There we go. And shrink. So we got our Plinko board, right? Hey, hello. Good to see you, friend. Welcome in. So good to have you. Making a Plinko roguelike. Well, that's what we're going to start designing here tonight, Nicholson. Yeah, thanks for jumping in. And then we have the player entity, right? All right, we're going to have to do more circles here. We've got our player entity. Gamion, good to see you. How's, shoot. I need to search in my things. How is... Oh no, it's gone. How's your project coming? You're super cool. Gosh, my brain is out of it today. The cars with the ball and the hitting into the goals and stuff, but fantasy and cool. Because everything else is awful there. I cannot find your game, dude. What the heck? That's a problem. Field of Heroes, your online multiplayer soccer brawler. Field of Heroes. Yes. It was dropped long back. Team didn't work out, but I got a new Steam game we're working on. Nice. We'll share some updates soon as page is up. It's in review. Huge congrats. It's going to GDC. Wow. Game was my first jam winning game. Be positive. Dude, that's incredible. If you'll forgive me for the unintended but well-earned pun. That sounds fantastic, man. Huge congrats. Yes, please share the Steam page when it's up. I would be so excited. I remember seeing itch updates for Be Positive, but I thought it was someone else and an older project. That's super cool. We have a new trailer scrambling to get a new build ready for a showcase next week. Very cool. That's exciting, Gamion. Thank you for updating us. How did the playtest go? Everything going all right? I know you were kind of struggling with the question of longevity. Are people going to want to continue playing this? Have you kind of found a beat on that? Doing your market research on your newest game is so smart. I'm essentially doing the opposite. Well, It's more like, I appreciate the kind words. Thank you. It is closer to, I had this idea for something, and then I started to see signs in the market that validate the idea, and I'm choosing to accept the confirmation bias and not look too hard. Taking the niche market of extraction, dividing it by people who also like fighting games. My market is 6 people. Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I think there's a big area for fighting games that has not been explored. Because fighters are so expert friendly and punishing to beginners. And I think that there's a lot, I think it genuinely, kind of like the RTS genre, how that kind of got assimilated by MOBAs, and bits and pieces of the RTS genre got picked apart by other genres, and then they carried those mechanics forward. I feel that we're due for the same thing with fighting games. I really do. I don't know who's gonna be like the first thing to make that happen, but fighting games are super satisfying. They're a really fun vibe. The problem is you have to like already have, to take the example to chess, you have to have been like a 1500 ELO Grandmaster plus in order to find chess really super satisfying if you're playing against other people. It's the same thing with fighters, right? Like fighters, you have to have a certain, like the floor is really high. So if we can take the things that are satisfying about fighters and bring them out and make it more accessible, I think that's a winning formula personally. Got a lot of feedback, and I think I know what to do to get the demo out in spring. Ooh, very exciting. I can't wait to hear what your updates are. Confirmation bias works too. Yeah. You shared some screenshots? Oh, wonderful. Hold on. Can we just do this? No? Discord? You're awful. Let's see, can I like... By the way, anyone jumping off Discord? I know there's a lot of like drama going on about this right now. Fighting games just need a good story mode to teach you how to play. That's a real game. I agree, Afro. Like I'm a firm believer in story mode for fighting games. Waiting to see if they go through with the ID thing. If they do, I'm back on. Yeah, like my understanding is someone recently found like a major vulnerability or something. Sorry for the flashbang. Someone recently found a major vulnerability in like leaked code of the tool they were going to implement, and now they've kind of backed out of it. Something like that. I don't know. What am I working on right now? Gosh, I'm trying to get some work on the Plinko roguelike, to do some design work on it. But y'all are being a good conversationalist here. Okay, we'll go here. We're gonna go to Art Critique, because I want to share this with everyone. Come on, Discord. All right, well, oh dear. Chrome is broken. Oh dear. By the way, here's Game Maker 2D Fighters sketches. He's been throwing a lot of work into the art critique. Definitely go check that out. Give it some thoughts. He's been going through a whole bunch of courses recently to improve his technical training on art, and you can really see before he was really good, and now it feels like it's at whole new levels. Definitely go in, provide some feedback, give some thoughts. So okay, so this is Be Positive. So it's a puzzle game. This is interesting because it doesn't, frankly, look like much from screenshots. But you won a game jam with them, and you're a very talented developer. So that I totally trust that there's something really interesting here that is hard to translate in a screenshot form. All Discord has to do is nothing. Take this team approach. Just do less and everyone else will go bankrupt. Yeah. It's a puzzle game. Very cool. Yeah, these states here. Interesting. You've seen this? Nice, Nickdos. Okay, so like one idea I have here is some classic ways to get attention from people is to do a common idea, but big or really small, right? So, what if instead of just having a ball coming down, or in Plinbo's case, you know, a sequence of balls coming down. What if instead of that, we had like a bajillion that are all raining down at once? And there's a part of me that even thinks, well, what if we tried to bring in like some incremental sort of stuff into this? And it wasn't quite turn-based? Could that be interesting? Am I doing a roguelike? Yes, that's the idea. I feel like the incremental space is a bit more competition heavy for this. And I feel like I would have more fun building a roguelike. So I love the idea of the incremental, and I'm thinking about maybe trying to bring in influences from it. Because when you hear a roguelike here, right, you're kind of automatically thinking, oh, it's going to be in rounds. Like you click the go button and all the balls are going to drop, and then you get a score. And it's, did you get enough, right? Kind of almost Balatro style. And I almost wonder if there's a way to modify that a bit, right? Where instead of having it being quite so turn-based, these things could all be routinely falling down, and then when you accomplish certain milestones or something, you get a treasure chest, and you could open that up, get a new ball type, right? That gets added to the queue. I think incremental would work. There are a lot of incrementals in the Plinko style. There's Peg Idol. There's a lot more. I can't think of them right now, but it works. It works really well for sure. It's a very good like visual spectacle that goes well with the idea of the incremental genre, right? With incrementals, you kind of want something that's very visually rewarding, almost like a lava lamp type sort of idea. So it does lend itself really well with that. So you start with one ball and you keep gaining balls. Yeah, absolutely. Click-based ball dropping. See, and that's one thing I want to avoid in Crediball. I want no player interaction. I want the player to be completely divorced from what is happening here. And I only want the player picking upgrades. That's it. And everything else is essentially an auto-battler. Would slots and daggers be considered incremental? If so, its simplicity within that is also something to look at to see that it works. Slots and daggers. I feel like I should know this one. It is on my wish list. Hold on. Let's bring this up. Retro mini roguelike inside a slot machine. I love the style here. That's great. Overwhelmingly positive. There you go. So it's a slot machine roguelike with a high fantasy theme. That is really cool. And it's going really heavily on theme, which is fun. A lot of these are kind of like, you know, there's just a random slot machine underneath a character while they're adventuring. Or a Luck Be a Landlord style slot machine even. And it's completely disconnected thematically from everything, and I love how they've tied it together cohesively here. That's super rad. Would it be helpful to first think of what upgrades you can have, see how you can satisfyingly change it? I think that's going to be a big thing. How about allow players to drop balls from where they click, and they can buy pegs and place them wherever they wish? I think that could be really cool. Not what I want to build. I want no player interaction. But I do like the idea of being able to possibly buy pegs and have, you know, kind of tailor the the slots in some way. I think that could be fun. Could be helpful to think about a theme too. Yes, and that's another thing I'm not totally sure about. Abstract is easy and fast, but I admit my heart, it always is gonna belong to either epic fantasy or superheroes. Just will. And eventually buy upgrades to auto drop and even allow to increase the length of map. And if I'm just jumping ahead and you're already planning these ideas, no, I appreciate the ideas. Basically, player makes their own Plinko board. I think that could be super cool. I think I'm going to dial it back a little bit. I think that would drive up ownership really well, right? Like if you're kind of doing this part and this part, definitely driving up that ownership, right? I love that. So this is kind of the idea. Iron Man Plinko get the balls to hit the right place to power the suit. Oh. So here's the thing, right? If it's not going to be if there's no player interaction, right? Then I don't think we can do like a void here and a void here and like your balls need to hit these areas and those are the only things that count. Because it'll just be frustrating, I feel, if all of your balls are going in other areas and they're just missing because you have no empowerment over that, right? So, whatever the like success metric is, it needs to allow for the balls to kind of do their own thing and to have variable reward states and performance. But we also need to make sure the player is feeling high empowerment, right? So that's going to be the tricky thing, is how do we remove player interaction while having high levels of empowerment? Thanks, Incredible. Okay, you know, yes, that's the idea, is like, go big with it, right? Big spectacle is the hope. Simply because it will be able to have a good screenshot. So, what I am planning on doing here, I've done this for a few other projects that are not necessarily game related, but on other things where I need to kind of like design an abstract system and a world and everything, and it's worked really well for me. I like to think of the fantasy first and mechanics come later to fulfill that. What is the Plinko board used for? It's a great question. Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm going to do right now, and I know I'm going to lose a bunch of people right now, but I'm going to upload my GDD template document here to ChatGPT. What I'm going to say is I need to write this GDD. I'm going to word vomit everything that I have about it. And during that time, I will not be able to respond to chat because I'm going to be word vomiting to ChatGPT. And during that time, I'm also going to ask it to ask me questions to help me to more fully detail out the document, right? So I'm not going to ask ChatGPT to do things for me. I'm going to ask it to help me to think more broadly, more horizontally, and to be able to carry a conversation across and define things, okay? So that's what we're going to do. I am trying to design... Oh no, is it not picking things up? No, it is not. Goodness gracious. Well, that's project settings. Goodness gracious. Oh no. Oh no. All right. There's more than one way to do this. I have a voice dictation app, so I'll use that instead. I am trying to make a game design document for a Plinko style roguelike. I want it to be like recent entries like Plinbo or Peglin, but unique and different in certain ways. I am going to dictate everything that I have thoughts about, and I need you to assemble these thoughts into the document format that I have attached and ask me questions to help me to identify blank spots, missing areas in my thinking that I need to define. I want the basic flow of this game to involve no player interaction. So the player will not aim any of the Plinko balls falling down. I want it to be very high on spectacle. So we're going to have a lot of effects, but I also want the balls that are dropped into the Plinko board. It's not just one at a time. I want by the end of a run, you're possibly throwing in 100 or more. I want the balls to have effects with each other. So if ball A spreads slime in an area, then ball B's chain lightning should be able to conduct through the slime. I need lots of interactions and synergies like that. For theme, I would think that abstract theme would be the simplest and fastest, but I do always love, and I will always try to bring things back to high fantasy or superheroes. So I need to define the theme around what this Plinko board is, what is it doing, how is it helping the player, and what are they trying to accomplish in terms of one of those two themes. We'll skip over technical architecture right now and focus purely on gameplay. I don't want it to be turn-based. I want it to almost feel like an incremental roguelike. So when the player starts their run, balls instantly start falling from the top of the board. And then the balls will accrue some sort of currency, or as they defeat some sort of adversary or break through a wall, then the player is rewarded. Time stops. The player picks a reward, and it moves on. Rewards can include balls to drop into the Plinko board, as well opportunities to modify the board to get special pegs that will have special effects, like a bomb peg that when it is hit, it detonates and explodes everything around it for a little while until it refreshes. Okay, we'll let it throw all that in. Then we're going to say, ask me questions to help me think more broadly and identify all the areas needed to fill out this document. Ask me questions one at a time until we get a firm GTD. Okay, Nicholson, I have tried Gemini before, and I think it's really good. I have access to a paid version of GPT due to work. So I like to use that, and it's not going to use our data to train its models, which admittedly I'm a little bit worried about with Gemini, but I know that like models don't really get trained on prompt data, but still there's kind of just like the principle of the thing that gets me a little bit. But we may try Gemini. We may like do this all through ChatGPT and then feed it into Gemini and say like, hey, here's this document. What are areas that you see that can be improved? I do like doing that sometimes, kind of pitting different AIs against each other, right? Of what do you see? Now, what do you see? Sort of thing. Hearing you say this out loud, this is the fantasy that hit me. The balls are orcs and you are storming castles. Ah, that's an interesting idea. Super excited to see what you cook up here. That's an interesting idea. So I've thought about that possibility before, but like trying to visually compose that feels very awkward to me because things are going to be going down, right? So if we have like a cartoon castle, if we have a castle wall here, whatever, sure. Blah, 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 down here, and they're dealing damage, right? You always think this is going to be big enough. It never is. And then they go in and they deal damage. Like, what does this screen look like? We have the things from the top down to the bottom. Normally, you kind of have this idea that the top of the screen is kind of the objective area, right? That things should be going. If anything, logically, it feels like it should be going up. Kind of going away from the bottom, from the player, towards an objective. But here, it's kind of in the opposite. And if you flip it around, I feel like gravity is just, like, it's gonna feel weird. Like, the Plinko idea gets erased. And it becomes something else. Something cool, but something else. And maybe I'm overthinking it, but that's what I've thought in the past about this sort of thing. Plinko board is top down, so you see the top of the ball / orc heads and you're storming down. Yeah, I guess it just, to me, it would feel a little bit awkward. Maybe it wouldn't, though. Just watched The Social Network for the first time and you can like or hate Mark Zuckerberg, but him developing Facebook from his dorm was so cool to me. Listen, I think you kind of have to like separate people and their creations and also people at different points in their lives, right? No one could have ever foreseen what Facebook would become or how it would impact the world or what trajectory it would kind of set everyone on. That Mark Zuckerberg, I don't think would ever have imagined himself being in the situations that he's in right now. It's a completely different world. So, like, yeah, I mean, it's very impressive, you know, what he and the others built on their team. Definitely don't deny that at all. Hey, Virite, good to see you, friend. Welcome in. How are you today? Okay. Yeah, continuous spectacle heavy, systemic synergies. I've even wondered about trying to do some sort of like ball pit style, like balls merging together to create new effects. It seems like I don't know how that would really function given the system that we're doing here, but whatever. You can actually, I think ball pit actually deals with the thing that I'm discussing. Right, that you're going from the bottom and you're going towards the top. But I guess there's also like VVVVVVVVV, right? Where you start at the top and you're going, or not that one, not that one. Shoot. There's a game with a similar graphical style where you have rocket boots and you're falling down and you're trying to guide it. I can see it. Makes me want to do a startup now. Yeah, good luck. Been a long time. It's true. It's true. I hope you've been well, man. I hope you're doing all right. Throw an image in the general chat of your Discord. Let's see here. Yeah. And it could work. I feel like... So with that theme, right? And maybe I'm just like being a dork. But with that theme, like, what are the Plinko pegs at that point? Are those like trees? Are they obstacles? Are they traps set by the castle? I guess we could reverse this, right? And say you are building a Plinko board and you are defending against hundreds of these Plinko balls coming down. Could be. Or it's like, yeah, you're the invading marauding orcs. Here's this Plinko board. Run them down and hit the castle. And like, maybe that's all that needs to be said. Maybe I'm massively overthinking it. Things to play with. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Incremental feel, not turn-based. Yeah, we want it to be kind of continuous, as it says up here. Continuous spectacle. Okay. What's the player's primary objective in a run? Right now, balls fall, enemies get defeated, walls break, and wards appear. What is the win condition? Yeah. Could be fun. It could be. Yeah, totally could be. That's the thing. Like, ideas are cheap, right? It's execution, really, that defines most products' success. Now, you can definitely find times where, like, the right timing is absolutely crucial. You can find times where, like, the idea was everything. Of course, the world is a complex place. But I think any of these ideas that are being thrown out right now, executed on well, could find an audience. I think they are all relatively equally viable in terms of, is it able to make a good game? I'd say you aren't sticking to this orc idea right away, so that might mean it's not a good fit. It's true. Because, like, I really do like the idea, but my brain is just hitting the logic wall on it. Normally when I hear a fantasy, if I like it, I immediately get excited. Yeah. One thing I've thought about before is, like, charging up a blaster, sort of. So, like, there's, like, a wall, right? And you're trying to charge up this cannon thing, or the wall is up here, and you're putting the balls down, and you're charging up a cannon that will then go pew-pew and break through the wall, or not, depending on if you succeed at it. And that's something that, like, you know, the superhero theme could work for that. I don't know. So, okay. Are we trying to defeat a single boss per stage? I think, I do like this idea of, I don't know. I like the idea of kind of advancing fortifications until you reach the big bad boss, right? Which does take me back to that orcs idea. Let's see here. Thinky bits. Have you seen PVKK? I think it would speak to your idea. Is that the one being made by the... Yeah. I admit I know nothing about this game. I saw the announcement trailer when it first came out. This is the next game made by the Dome Keepers folks. And our good friend Cubist Dev actually got a job at this studio several years ago. So I don't know if they're still there, but, like, a community member is actively working on this. With the Plinko board is powering that cannon. Yeah. I guess, like, one thing that we could do, right? If we take a full, like, screen here, no fill, and we say, you know, this is where the balls are all dropping. and it's powering up a reactor, right? We could have some cannon over here, and then like big fortification wall, right? Why do I keep drawing fours? We got a big wall and then a barrier here, right? And then when the ball reaches down here, it flows into the cannon, charging a meter, and that meter needs to get full, and then it goes kabloomy and blows up the wall. That works for you, Endo? Everyone else, feel free to speak up as well on if the idea seems like something that is interesting to you. I kind of like the idea of like this sort of vertical bar over here as well, saying like, hey, your first wall is here and you are there, and then you break this wall and there's like another wall over here, and then you got your big baddie boss dude over there. And then you kind of like do that 3 times, right? Like this is an act boss and you go through 3 acts. Almost got a super puzzle fighter feel to it. Yeah, totally. Kind of like Plants vs. Zombies. I could see that. We could, you know, continuing this thought train a little bit, we could add little baddies right here. Like this is a Tesla tower or something, right? And it is zapping the cannon. And the cannon has a health bar. That's a health sign, obviously. And you know, you've got like 100, and then you get zapped, and then that goes down to 90. But then you have a ball over here that is a shield ball, and when it gets down, yeah, it's going to charge up, but it's also going to give you a little bit of shield, or maybe it'll heal you, or maybe little dudes can come running down here and be attacking your cannon, and this is like a static blast ball, and when it goes down, it's going to hurt everything around your cannon. That's starting to get into some scope creep, but I do feel like it would be really cool on the spectacle side of things. So much going on here that makes the game feel alive and requires 0 player interaction. It's true. I'm thinking if we go this route, then my concern is I'm going to want to add player interaction. I'm going to want to add like a toolbar here with abilities that get charged up as the balls go down, and like you can activate them to blast around your can. You can activate them to turn off towers for a little bit or put an extra shield up or something, right? Which wouldn't be terrible. It's just clicky abilities, but I worry about it kind of straying a bit. Those abilities could be choices you make on the type of Plinko balls, so no interactions. Or they could just auto-charge, I guess. So I'm trying to think, what would it feel like as a player, right? You come into a new level, your cannon rolls forward, you got this big wall in front of you. Start. Everything starts falling down, stuff is charging, there's animations going on over here of the wall shooting at you and shields are going up and everything. And you're sitting there and there's going to be a lot to watch. But if it takes too long, it could get boring. So we need to have like pretty regular choice opportunities, right? Of upgrade an X way, Y way, or Z way. I am liking this idea, though. I am liking it. You know what? I'm going to take this. I just got a screenshot of that, and I'm going to go spin up a Figma make of this real quick. Maybe the balls are enemies, and them hitting the points damages them. Oh. So that kind of goes into that, like, reverse concept we had earlier, right? Where, like, this is your home base, and these are the bad guys. And these are the traps that you have laid out for them as they start coming down the field, right? And I think that's also a cool idea. Okay. So I've got a Figma make here. Give me a game UI inspired by the attached. It is a Plinko style roguelike where your balls fall down on the left side of the screen, and when they reach the bottom, they flow into your cannon on the right side of the screen and power that up. And the goal is to charge up your cannon while the fortifications are actively blasting it, and charge it up fast enough that it can blast through the fortifications and roll on to the next fortification. There's a sidebar on the far right of, you know, several different stages until you reach the big boss at the very top. I think this is a high fantasy style aesthetic, and your cannon is we'll say a goblin cannon, being run by the goblins, and you're trying to blast down the heroes' cities. Let's see what Make creates here. Once again, these are not to build the thing, it's to help think wider, right? And if it can kind of put this into a cohesive format, I can grab this and feed that into ChatGPT and use it to help me to kind of consider things like, hey, you're missing stuff for this, or this element you've brought in here is going to violate these design goals that you had elsewhere, right? So it's all about kind of using these tools as ways to think better. Also, I just noticed, Endo, those goblins, are those like from Roll20? Those look like the goblin tokens in Roll20. It's a mood board, yeah. It's like a mood board that can kind of talk back to you a little bit. Totally. Maybe I just Google image top-down orc? Yeah, could be. Oh, shoot. All right, well, while that's thinking, let's jump back over here. So the flow is that you are a goblin cannon operating crew, and you are trying to charge up your cannon quickly enough so that it can blast through the fortifications before the cannon is broken down. The fortifications will be attacking the cannon, lowering its health over time. The Plinko board will be on the left, and the actual battle visuals will be happening on the right side of the screen, as you can see in the attached screenshot. So the idea is break down the walls of the city. So go through like 2 walls and then a boss for that city. And then if you beat that, you wheel on to another city and you can do 3 cities total in a run with escalating qualities and danger levels. Okay. Figma, you breaking? Done. How does this look? It looks like a square board. Oh, okay, here we go. Oh boy. Let's refresh. The immediate flash was kind of interesting. Figma Make is it's improved quite a lot since its inception. Boy. But it's not gonna be able to do a high fantasy aesthetic. It's gonna be like, I don't know, what do I do with that? So it's it's not the end all be all, but it is a useful tool for rapid ideation and prototyping, especially if you have like a design system built out. Then it can be really cool. You're not in a loop. Oh my gosh, it's actually like building the game. Jeez. Oh my gosh. Okay. Fix. That's crazy that it's actually like building an interactive prototype. I think it's important to think what type of progression the game would have. Personally, I don't like something like 20% more damage upgrades. I totally agree. Yeah, I completely agree. I would love to avoid straight stat upgrades. Or maybe we can still have straight stat upgrades, but those aren't the main upgrades, right? Those are like the filler sorts of things. That preview was interesting. Yeah, I'm curious what it's going to spit out for us here. I'm a firm believer that upgrades should make something more interesting, not just help you progress, right? It's why the loot in a Diablo game sucks until you get to legendaries. And that's when itemization actually happens in that game, right? When you start to get things that are not just stat sticks, but that meaningfully modify the game and allow you to find these synergies and broken combos and stuff. I hard agree with you, Nekdos. Yeah, I'm sure there's a term for that. I'm sure a real game designer would come along and say, yeah, we call those types of upgrades these kinds, and the other kind this different term. I need to completely refactor the physics simulation. Oh, jeez. Okay. That is cool. I'm liking the idea of this. I don't love the theme and everything, or even like how it's all laid out, but like using this as a way to communicate concept, I think is kind of cool. It even made like a little cannon. That's so cute. Like, it's definitely missing some things. Like, it doesn't have like a health bar for it and everything. But like, I think this is enough that we can feed this into GPT to kind of start to communicate an idea. And you can see as we're kind of jumping between these different tools, talking with you fine folks, thinking things over, we're starting to refine the idea a little bit more. It's like a big potter's clay, right? You're kind of start with this big amorphous blob, and as you work it, it becomes more clear. Well, like anything at all like that, but it's crazy that I cooked that up. Yeah, totally. There we go. Okay. Player role, Goblin Cannon crew. Yep. Okay. Question 2. What is attacking the cannon? How does that pressure scale? Yeah. So the wall should have different fortifications that can damage different things or make things more difficult for the player in different ways. This can be either removing hit points when, for example, an arrow is shot at it or a sword hits it, right? The cannon should lose some hit points. It should also be able to impact the Plinko board. If we're thinking the Plinko board is kind of like a circuit board type sort of idea, then, if the cannon is blasted by a Tesla coil, then maybe some of the pegs go offline and no longer count for generating energy. Or they could add hazards onto the board that cause trouble. That then the player will have to account for things like that in their roguelike upgrade selection. Okay. Let's do that. Let it think for a minute. This is interesting. Have the balls fall from anywhere on the top. Add a health section for the cannon that can be hurt by the fortifications. Look at that. It's even going like between the different locations. That's crazy. That is cool. Let the player pick a batch of new balls, 5 of different themes. New balls. 3 choices of 5 balls each of different themes. How is it even possible that there's collisions in Figma? I know, right? I mean, because this isn't Figma. This is code. This is HTML and JavaScript and CSS. So, like, we can go here. We can look at all the code that's running this, right? You can jump in. You can modify all sorts of stuff. Check out, linkogame.tsx. Here we go. There's all of our code for the balls and auto dropping the balls and everything. It's pretty cool. You can even hook this up to GitHub. So like you can when you've reached a version, you can cut a PR and push it out. Like there's all sorts of cool things that are happening here. We got the boss here. Look at that. This is so crazy. It is. It's I'm telling you. Tooling is going to be a wild ride to keep up with over the next few years. Okay. Our fortifications independent units. So, the wall fortifications should act independently. And then there should also be like ground units that can come out to attack the cannon individually. There should be abilities as well that the player can draft to, for example, send an electrical shock all the way around the cannon and blow up units that are nearby. It could be as well that some of the upgrades are adding a little side arm to the cannon that can target the fortifications and try and knock those down while the main cannon is charging. Okay. So we got our update. We have balls remaining. Got health. Whoa, choose your ammunition. Select a batch of 5 balls to continue the assault. Extra charge. This just seems better than this one. So, we're not replacing game dev with AI anytime soon. Protect your cannon, plus 10 charge per ball and blocks damage. That sounds cool. Balls should fall in a steady stream, increasing the size of that stream should also be an upgrade option at random. Same with other assorted cannon upgrades. All right, so while that's working on that, let's jump back over here. Let's define the combat architecture. Here's the draft structure based on what you said. What kind of counter contains wall core, large HP pool, must be destroyed to progress. Notification modules, yeah, sure. These are all good ideas. Each has independent HP, unique attack pattern, unique board interference pattern, ground units, spawn. Yep, okay, great. Now the critical system question. What determines what gets damaged? You've introduced multiple targets. Yeah, it's got to be an auto battler. This is essentially an auto battler. So different balls. First off, every ball should charge the main cannon, I think. That's going to be important. Like, everything should feel like it's contributing to that final goal. But then also, different balls can contribute extra charge to other things. They can contribute to the sidearms. They can contribute to your abilities that can auto-fire, like the electricity thing, burst. So it should depend on the ball itself. Okay. Figma's still thinking. What is this? I know, right? Like, I'm telling you, game jams are going to have problems in the very near future. YouTube has YouTube Playables, which is their AI game building tool. Right now, it can only do pretty rudimentary things, like the basic stuff that you see on mobile ads. Anything more complex than that, it really breaks down. But it's not going to stay there, man. Like, it's going to get better. But, like, we're going to reach a time where with one prompt, you generate a game. Like a full butts game. What do you do with that? And I know there's a huge amount of anti-AI sentiment. And there's a lot of very good, valid reasons for that. But I don't know. Unless we have major litigation come down across the globe to, you know, GDPR level type sort of stuff, not gonna matter. Like, okay, +1 ball drop per wave. Yeah, great. So that's happening faster. 2 ball drops per wave. Wow. +5 balls in the next pack. Even more in the next pack. 1 billion armor. Yeah, I'm like, obviously there's problems, right? Like, there's definitely like some bugs that are happening here, and it's misinterpreting some things. Like, I don't want to upgrade every single time we go through like a full clip, so to speak, right? But dang. Like, I've got a working prototype here. In less than an hour. Like, just, geez. Are you planning to make the map linear or maybe something more like Slay the Spire? It's a good question. That's a really good question. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I was assuming linear, but I feel like, I mean, linear with like variation, right? So you'd get kind of like one of the different options slotted in. So there's like 10, probably like 2 or 3 Act 1 cities, and then 2 or 3 Act 2 cities, right? And then it kind of randomizes between those. I personally don't like Slay the Spire maps unless it's super well done. It's been very overdone, for sure. It can, yeah, it can be a little bit rough. Stepped away for a few minutes and you already have a prototype. Yeah, I know, Mothman. This is what we've been talking about, is like, game jams are going to have some problems coming up here for realsies. Obviously, this is not, like, great, but it is kind of wild. Okay. Stream 6x. Okay. Give upgrades not at the end of each clip, but rather as the player progresses. Each fortification toppled gives a major upgrade. And I don't know what the milestones would be for the minor ones. What is this from? This is Figma Make. So we're kind of bouncing between ChatGPT for the GDD and then also like live prototyping what these things might look like in Figma Make. And we're kind of letting the AIs, while one is thinking, work on the other one. It's being a really interesting flow. Gosh. I don't even know. While more minor charge milestones met grant stat bonuses. Haven't heard of that one before? Yeah. Figma Make is pretty cool. It has improved a lot since they first released it. If you haven't tried out Figma Make, it's worth your time. There's quite a lot of power in this. Obviously, like it's generating code here. Like this is the behavioral script behind what it's doing. You can go in, you can edit it directly. There's a lot of power here. You can plug into like GitHub and cut a PR from this. You can do all sorts of really, really, really cool stuff. I've even seen people like using different plugins to like make an actual back end for it and then have like a real live app that people can target. All right, take care, Endo. Thanks so much for hanging out so much and for your thoughts and ideas. It's very exciting. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, well, that's thinking. Let's go here. What is the next question we need to tackle for our GDD? We need to lock the energy architecture. So we have the main cannon charge, sidearm charges. Yep, and ability charges. Yes. And also a defensive meter. Yeah, totally. Elemental field meter. That's an interesting thought. I don't know exactly what that would mean. Separate visible meters. Main charge always visible. Auxiliary charge channels unlocked via drafts. For example, if you draft a sidearm, a portion of the ball charge is siphoned into the sidearm meter. I don't want it. Generation for auxiliary channels, as it's calling them, should be in addition to, not in place of the main charge. Because my thought there, right, is like it's gonna feel de-empowering, right? If you are feeling really cool and you're like, wow, we're blasting through walls super fast, but we have like their cavalry is getting to us really fast. I'm gonna draft a little laser beam sidearm. Well, now I'm gonna go through it slower. That feels bad. Like I just downgraded. I'm gonna go down in my empowerment, right? You might go up in accomplishment a little bit, but definitely down in empowerment. I'm not a fan of that. How many credits have you used in Figma Make during this process? Yeah, I know, right? So they are not doing. They're not counting tokens until like March, which is pretty soon. So this last prompt that I did used 70 credits, and I think the base plan is like 3,000 credits. So that was 70, then 62, 60, 0, 0, which is good. Like it's not counting bug fixes for AI credits. Perfect. Love that. And then 22. So we're looking at about like 300 or so. So a tenth of a monthly output. So a decent amount, you know. Game should pause when the upgrades are surfaced. That's such an awkward way to phrase that. different balls should charge different things. So you can have auxiliary balls, you can have defensive balls, you can have main charge balls, and a defensive ball, for example, will provide a nominal amount of charge to the main cannon, but it will largely provide charge to the defensive shields. So the thought here is when we get to the end of this GDD, which we probably won't get to tonight, we'll see how we're doing. But by the time we get to the end here and we have this kind of prototype, being able to take both of those things, feed that into a Claude or a cursor as the context, ask it for a technical spec definition to say, you know, how should this code be architected? And then feed in assets and let it execute on the code. And then hopefully that will carry us like a good amount forward into strong prototype territory. All right, let's get some armored spheres. How is this feeling? I'm kind of liking it. And especially if we're getting like the spectacle of like, you know, the towers on top of the town square blasting at the cannon, seeing the health go down, seeing enemy units riding out and trying to attack the cannon, having it blast and everything. And if these bonuses were actually like triggering as an actual draft for me. Yeah, you know, like I think that'd be pretty cool. I'm liking the direction of this. And I love the idea of like a goblin cannon crew. Like that's so unhinged. You could make such fun artwork for that. I'm liking it. I'm liking the direction so far. And I think it's being unique and interesting enough. Okay. Yeah. These are independent systems. Yes, I like all this. It feels more like an AI stream than game development stream. Yeah, I know. And it's good to tool around with these sorts of things, right? Because even if you are opposed to them, even if you feel, hey, this is not a good idea, like this is what people are going to be using. This is the world that we are entering into. Once again, barring any sort of like litigation that would prevent it. So even if you say, I'm never going to use this in my work, using it in a side project just to be aware of it is not a bad thing. Okay. Great. It's great to build archetypes. Yes, absolutely. That is a big goal. We like the ball identity system. Great. Are balls rigid roles? Siege balls are mostly siege. Defense balls are mostly defensive. Electric balls are mostly electric. Yeah, and this is where things can get really complex, right? Because my original thought was if you've played Ball Pit, right, you have very diverse capabilities in those balls. But maybe what we need to do is we need to have archetypes, like this special ability on a ball, and then that gets paired with a type of like siege, defensive, electric, right? And then you can have those kind of mix with each other. Could be. For now, let's say that the balls are composed of at least two different spectrums. One side should be the special ability, like it phases completely through pegs, or has chain lightning, or explodes when it hits a peg. And then the other spectrum is the attribute that it corresponds the most to. So is it going to go mostly to the defense, to the electricity generation, to the sidearms, etc.? And those two different columns can each match up with each other to create random variations. I think balls absolutely should be modified mid-run. Maybe that's the big reward that you get when you knock down a fortification is you get a generic, this type of ball now also does this cool thing approach. I'm actually going to copy that because I'm liking the idea so much. I'm actually going to bring that across and bring that into Figma Make. So minor upgrades can include additional balls, stats, etc. Okay. Let's see what these guys come up with. Great. Leave Slime Trail, yeah, it's something we've talked about before. Splits and fragments, sure. Heavy, accelerates downward, orbiting lingers, piercing passes through X-Pegs. Interesting thoughts. Orbiting, I'm not totally sure what that would be, but interesting. Great, and then we have the energy alignment, yep. Gives you infinite combinatorics. That can't be a word. Shut up. An area of mathematics primarily concerned with counting. Got styled on. Got styled on by GPT, man. Clean mental model, modular upgrade system, easy content expansion. Yep. Those are all good things. Okay. Great. I'm liking the concepts here. Top viewers, how dare you imply that my viewers are not top viewers? Excuse you. There we go. Great. Block. Great. Then Twitch, why are you changing your UI? How do I delete the message? What the heck? Twitch. Anyway, we're not gonna be on for a ton longer anyways. Okay. Great. Need to decide ball identity structure. Predefined named balls. Or generated combos. Base template plus rolled ability plus rolled alignment. Yeah, this is a good question. Because this goes into like readability, right? I don't think anyone is dumb enough to go to that link. I hope not. Because, yeah, you could get explosive defensive ball, right? Or you could get defensive ball of... or Vasher's defensive ball, right? Like, there's a lot of ways you can combine it. And it's very thematic and interesting and cool, but also just, oh, it's kind of a lot to read. Generated combos, but we need to keep titles tight. Titles should only be base plus charge. The tooltip for them can include the other info. All right, so what did make create here? Splitting splits into two balls on impact. Chain lightning chains the nearby pegs. Explodes on pick and mitt. Let's do chain lightning. I don't see the chain lightning. Definitely seems like I'm charging a whole lot faster, though. Adds extra balls. The large milestone abilities should be tied to one of the abilities / attributes. The minor upgrades should be choosable by the player and include generated balls as well as stat upgrades. And I'm realizing we really will need like rarity systems here, right? Because if it's all just going to be randomized, you don't want to have a situation where you get lucky and luck your way into really powerful combos. So we're going to have common ones, uncommon, rare, right? And then progressively do better and better things as they progress through their run. Okay. Yes, I'm liking this sort of splitting. We need to lock the ball spawn model. This is the structural fork in the road. You want 100 plus balls late game. You want auto battle. You want spectacles. So we need to decide our balls deck based, Peglin style. You cycle through a finite set, or B, production based. Ball spawn continuously. Balls spawn continuously at a rate. Yes. What limits them? So we kind of encountered this issue in the Figma Make, right? Once again, kind of the going back and forth on these being really helpful. The balls can be conceptualized as coming through a hose. Only so many of the balls that you have fit through the hose at any one given time. Upgrades can include making that hose wider. The balls will be spawning at random points all the way across the screen, not all coming down at a single place. So we need a good visual metaphor for this. But the basic idea is stream size. How many of those can be dropped at one time? Okay, let's see what Make has. That was an additional 78 credits. That's actually the biggest prompt I've seen so far, the biggest credit usage so far. Plus one ball per drop. Hot doggity. We got the charge, we should get an upgrade. Instant drops 3 balls. What? Oh, is that like an ability that it's gonna activate? Stat boost, chain link, instant drop 3 balls. I don't really know what that's trying to communicate. Definitely need shielding. Getting really hurt here. Somehow we're healing. And also Palpatine return. Plus one ball per drop. So yeah, the Make isn't quite picking up on the like columns matching together generation idea, but it is doing a lot of other things that are working pretty well here. Wider stream, more. Oh, there's like special balls happening in there. Chain lightning shielding? I don't know what that means. Shielding. Active attributes, energy and shielding. Split. Chain lightning plus split. Splitting energy instantly drops 3 balls. I don't know what that means. What are you upgrades? I mean, we're clearly doing well. Like we're full health. We're cruising through. We're making it. I will say, even though this doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, I am like wanting to continue to play it, which I think speaks well. I think it would be going a lot better if these things were actually working. Explosive. So I do think this is an interesting idea, a fun idea that could be really cool and have a lot of fun spectacle, right? I want to see what happens when it gets all the way through the Hero's Keep, right? How long a run do you think should be? I'm of the opinion that roguelikes should not take longer than an hour at the absolute latest, and ideally 30-ish minutes is kind of like the average. That's what I would try and shoot for, is like maybe 10 minutes per conquest, as Figma Make is putting it, right? 10 minutes per all that, and then 3 of those. Yeah, I'm bummed that like these abilities aren't working because it's feeling fun right now. And I wish these things actually like did their job. Abilities don't seem to be activating. When a ball falls off of the bottom of the screen, it should, I can do this faster with voice, have visual indicators that 1, the ball is being fed back to the top of the machine, and 2, its charge floats into the bar of the corresponding thing that it's charging. We also need bars to represent the additional charging mechanisms for each item. Okay. Great. Core ball production model. Continuously spawn from a host stream. Great. You have flow capacity. Yep. Okay. System terminology. We should lock this instead of hose. Let's find something thematic. Yeah. I mean, a hose is kind of thematic, for a goblin engineer. That's a lot of duct tape and bubble gum there. Ammo trough, mana conduit. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. I kind of like the idea of like goblins hooking a couple of like battery cathodes onto an ancient rune and then like feeding that power into a wind turbine that pushes a squirrel, to run on a wheel, which then moves water that then feeds back into the ancient rune to generate, I love the idea of wackiness happening here. What limits ball count? It's your draft. Overproduction costs. Yeah, I'm not totally sure about this. You know what? It is getting very, very late for me. I'm having a ton of fun with this. I'm really enjoying what we've come up with. I really like this kind of bouncing between different AI tools to come up with concepts. I think there's some fun stuff here. I'm really liking the idea. I'm really liking the idea. I feel like the idea of the player not having much interaction might make the gameplay boring quite fast. It could be. I mean, the whole goal, right, is that it's about the upgrades. It's about the synergies that you create more than it is any moment-to-moment action gameplay. And so really all of this other stuff, all this visual, is just to kind of tide the player over until they get upgrades so they can kind of observe what the impact of their upgrades are. It's an auto-battler, essentially. Now, that being said, one thing I do want to do is I want to, after we kind of get a GDD rough draft, I want to scrape all these reviews, synthesize them down, and try and get to core issues and then make sure those core issues are being effectively targeted with the GDD. Interestingly, when I looked at Plinko just manually the other day, I feel like most of the negative reviews are like UX issues, right? It's aggressively asking for reviews. It's perfect physics-based ball movements. I don't know why that really triggered this person. I don't know. And this person does say you can't choose where you drop, right? There's no physics. Balls just fall from one post to the next in a predefined arc. It doesn't scratch any itch these games normally use. So there's a lot of interesting things to like try and extract, right? And make sure that we're targeting things correctly. Player choice is surprisingly limited. You're told to build a deck, yet you're capped at 6 to 8 cards and only 10 special balls available per deck. Pins barely matter until later rounds. Balls often feel irrelevant for most of the run. After a couple of hours, you're mostly rotating the same few cards while hoping the RNG gods feel generous. Compared to something like Balatro with its massive Joker pool and layered synergies, Plinbo just doesn't give you enough levers to pull. Ultimately, it's hard to tell what the game really wants to be. Player agency is minimal, balance is shaky, and the endless leaderboard devolves into less of a skill showcase, more of a who has the most time to waste board. Yeah. There's a lot to discuss there, you know? Okay. I'm having fun. I think this is... I do like the idea. There's obviously plenty of room for refinement. But I think there's an idea here. And I think the biggest step forward that we took here is this format of... We know what the theme is now, essentially. I love this idea of a goblin engineering crew scrapping things together in order to assault this city. And I don't know if that's happening within the context of a greater assault, or if this is the totality of the assault. I don't know, but I love the idea. I love the idea, and I think that there's more that I want to keep exploring here and keep working on. So I might be doing some more of that off stream. I'll be keeping people up to date in the Discord on any updates that I do off stream, because next week we're going to be checking out courtesy of Endo's game Echo, and I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to be playing that next week. I'm not going to be able to keep myself away from this for a full 2 weeks, so you can expect updates in the Discord. All right, folks. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for hanging out, everyone. So good to see you all. Thank you for rating and joining on Twitch and YouTube and all the things. I hope you're all doing so well. These are trying, hard times, and I'm glad that we can all be here together to just celebrate the simple act of creation together. So thank you. Appreciate you. Reach out if we can support in any ways. Thanks, Nektos. Thanks, Nicholson. And I hope you have the most restful of nights. Talk to you later.